most chilling mysteries in the country's history. On December 17th, 1967, Holt vanished without a trace while swimming in the turbulent waters off Cheviot Beach. As he waded into the ocean's depths, the waters seemed to claim him, swallowing his body without a single trace left behind. The official story: Holt drowned in the unforgiving sea. But the truth, many whispered, was far darker. Rumors began to swirl, thick as the coastal fog. Some claimed Holt had been no ordinary politician, but a covert spy. His disappearance, a calculated act to escape the prying eyes of the world. But even more disturbing were the whispers that emerged from the shadows. The most famous and terrifying theory suggested that Holt's final moments were not claimed by the sea at all, but by something far more sinister: a Chinese submarine waiting in the depths to collect the Prime Minister, pulling him into the abyss. The notion of a spy, a high-profile politician vanishing without a trace, sent shivers down the spine of every Australian. What if the waters had merely been a cover? What if Holt's disappearance was not a tragic accident, but a premeditated extraction, hidden beneath the murky veil of the sea? As the years pass, the legend only grows stronger, the air of mystery thicker. Holt's body was never found, and some say it never will be, because it wasn't the sea that took him. It was something far worse. The gateway to hell is one of the most chilling urban legends in America. A place where the veil between the living and the damned is said to grow thin. Located in the desolate Stull Cemetery in Kansas, the story tells of an ancient, crumbling church that once stood at the edge of the cemetery until it mysteriously collapsed. But even after its destruction, the legend remained, for beneath the rubble was a set of stairs leading into an abyss that was never meant to be uncovered. On Halloween night and during the spring equinox, it is said that the stairs, cloaked in darkness, become a gateway to the other side. Those brave or foolish enough to descend are said to hear whispers from beyond the grave, as if something or someone is calling from the depths of hell itself. The air grows thick, suffocating with an unnatural chill, as if the very ground beneath your feet is pulsing with dark energy. Locals speak of shadows that move on their own, fleeting rows of figures watching from the tree line, and an overwhelming sense of dread that grips anyone who dares approach. They say the devil himself walks the grounds of Stull Cemetery, waiting for the next soul to step into the gateway to hell, never to return. And on those cursed nights, the gates are wide open, inviting the lost into the eternal dark. In the shadowed corners of Maple Hill Park, Alabama, lies a playground drenched in death and sorrow, known as the Dead Children's Playground. It sits next to the Maple Hill Cemetery, a final resting place for dozens of children who perished during the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Their spirits, restless and angry, are said to haunt the swings and slides, forever trapped between life and death. Late at night, when the moon casts long shadows across the park, eerie sounds can be heard. The creak of the swing sets moving without wind, the faint laughter of children too young to understand the weight of their fate. Some say that if you stand near the playground after dark, you'll feel a chill, an oppressive presence that fills the air, as if something, someone is watching you from the darkness. Those brave enough to visit the playground claim to see the swings moving on their own, as if pushed by invisible hands. Others have reported hearing the soft, disembodied whispers of children pleading to be heard. But it's not just the sounds that unsettle those who dare to linger. Some have felt a tug on their clothing, a cold hand brushing against their skin, as if the lost children of Maple Hill are reaching out for company, forever seeking the warmth of life they lost so long ago. If you hear their voices, you may never leave the playground, and perhaps you may never want to. There's a number that no one should ever call. 99999. It's a forbidden sequence, whispered about in hushed tones, known only to those who dare to seek the unimaginable. The legend goes like this. If you dial the number after midnight, you'll hear a voice on the other end, soft and chilling, offering you anything you desire. voice will ask for nothing except your life, and when the sun rises, you will be gone, swallowed by an unseen force. The urban legend has spread like wildfire, horrifying those who hear it. Some say it's just a story. Others swear they've felt the cold grip of death after making the call. And in 2002, the legend was brought to the screen in the horrifying film 99999. It's a tale that lingers, a dark invitation you should never, ever answer.
In the eerie, silent halls of Raynham Hall in Norfolk, England, a chilling figure is said to linger, the Brown Lady, a ghostly apparition clad in a faded brown gown. She drifts through the darkened corridors, her presence felt in the sudden chill that fills the room, a sensation so bone deep it leaves an icy imprint on the soul of anyone who crosses her path. For centuries, tales of her restless spirit have haunted Raynham Hall, each story more spine-chilling than the last. The Brown Lady is believed to be Lady Dorothy Walpole, whose tragic end left her spirit bound to the hall. The story goes that she was locked away by her jealous husband, condemned to spend her days alone, and she eventually succumbed to despair and illness, her life extinguished within those very walls. Now her tormented soul lingers, forever roaming the home she could never leave in life. Witnesses describe her appearance as both beautiful and terrifying. She glides through the halls with an ethereal grace, her hollow eyes sunken and empty, her face twisted in a mournful expression. It is said, her eyes are nothing but dark voids, empty of life, drawing those who meet her gaze into an endless sorrow. Her brown dress, old-fashioned and tattered, seems almost to meld with the shadows, making her a faint, flickering figure who vanishes as suddenly as she appears. One of the most infamous sightings occurred in 1936, when photographers from Country Life magazine captured a hazy, spectral figure descending the grand staircase. The photograph, grainy and eerie, shows her drifting down the stairs, her form nearly translucent yet unmistakable. This image became one of the most well-known ghost photographs in history, cementing the Brown Lady's terrifying legend. Visitors and staff at Raynham Hall still report encounters with her cold, haunting presence. Doors creak open without reason, and the echoes of footsteps are heard when no one is there. Some say that late at night, a faint figure can be seen moving slowly down the staircase, her shadowy form slipping away before she reaches the bottom, as if forever trapped in a sorrowful descent. The legend of the Brown Lady in In the dark corners of Fairfax County, Virginia, lurks a tale so twisted it leaves a chill, even in the bravest hearts. The legend of the Bunny Man is whispered in hushed tones, a haunting memory of the night he first appeared, a figure in a ragged, filthy rabbit costume, eyes blazing with madness, clutching an axe. It began in 1970, on a cold October night. A young couple parked their car near an old bridge, hoping for a quiet moment alone. Suddenly, they heard a scraping sound, metal dragging against stone, then a bone-chilling voice snarling, "Get off my land." In the dim light, they saw him, the Bunny Man. He lifted his axe high, and with a swift, furious swing, shattered their windshield. Shrieking, the couple sped off, but the image of the crazed man, fur-matted with dirt and blood, etched itself into their minds. Since that night, stories have spread, each one more horrifying than the last. Some say he's the ghost of an escaped asylum patient who hides in the woods, haunting the county in search of revenge. Others claim he's a restless spirit, doomed to stalk the shadows forever, fueled by a rage he can't control. They say that if you dare to visit the bridge at midnight, you might hear the sound of his axe scraping the ground, his ghostly form lingering in the shadows, waiting for another soul to claim. People swear they've seen him, his silhouette under the moonlight, his eyes gleaming from the depths of the forest. And one thing is certain: once you see the Bunny Man, you'll never forget the sight of his axe, the echo of his growl, or the terror that will haunt your dreams.
twisted figure who matched the horrors of the folklore, convicted of kidnapping and terrorizing children. Rand was the real-life Cropsey, the monstrous figure in the legend was no longer just a story. It was flesh and blood, roaming the streets of Staten Island, snatching children one by one. Cropsey may still walk among us, his twisted presence forever haunting the streets where innocence once lived. And for those who strayed too far into the night, the darkness may still claim them, silent and hungry. The elevator game is a sinister ritual whispered among the daring and the doomed, a game that promises entry to an alternate world, but at an unspeakable cost, born from the depths of the internet. In 2008, on the Japanese site 2Channel, this legend has lured thrill seekers into its dark embrace with promises of forbidden knowledge and spine-chilling danger. The instructions are deceptively simple. Enter an empty building with at least 10 floors and ride the elevator alone, following a specific, eerie sequence of floors. As you ascend, the air becomes heavy, and an unnatural silence seeps into the confined space. On the 5th floor, the true test begins. A woman, pale, lifeless, with eyes that seem to pierce your soul, might enter the elevator. She will not speak, but she will watch. Do not look at her. Do not acknowledge her. She is not human. If you complete the sequence, you'll find yourself in another world. The building will feel cold, suffocating. The lights will flicker dimly, revealing an empty, desolate city outside. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the distance, their movements slow and deliberate, watching your every move. But the warnings are clear. Many who play never return, lost to the sinister otherworld they dared to enter. The legend of the Frozen Hill people is one of the most chilling tales to emerge from the snow-covered hills of Bridgewater Corners, Vermont. It dates back to December 21st, 1887, when a poor farming family, isolated by the unforgiving settlement spoke of hearing strange, bone-chilling howls in the dead of night, and thick, unnatural fog rolling down from the mountains. When a search party finally made its way to the family's cabin, they found something unimaginable. The family, father, mother, and children, were discovered frozen, their bodies eerily preserved in time, as if the cold had stolen their very souls. But it wasn't just the unnatural frost that unnerved the rescuers. It was their faces. The frozen expressions of horror etched into their features seemed to suggest something far worse had happened before their bodies succumbed to the cold. Their eyes were wide open, locked in a silent scream. Some say the family never died, but were trapped in a nightmarish, endless sleep, cursed by an ancient force that still haunts the hills. On moonless nights, locals claim to hear faint whispers carried by the wind, agonized voices of the frozen hill people, waiting for release, their fate sealed by the icy grip of the mountain's curse. In the dimly lit chambers of Spanish folklore lies a chilling legend about the Castilian lisp, a haunting echo that whispers through the language itself. According to the tale, centuries ago, there was a Spanish king whose tongue bore a strange affliction. His speech was marked by an unnatural lisp, a soft but chilling hiss that crept into every word, bending the sounds like twisted vines. This was no ordinary speech impediment. Many believed it was a curse, some ancient hex upon the royal bloodline. The legend says that the king's court, fearful of invoking his wrath, began to mimic his lisping speech, imitating the soft, eerie sounds that dripped from his lips like poison. They say the lisp spread like an infection, starting with the nobles, then seeping into the commoners' tongues, and finally swallowing the entire land. It became known as the Castilian lisp, a language haunted by a ghostly sound, forever marking Spanish speech with the king's cursed voice. But there are darker layers to the tale. Some say that those who refused to mimic the king's speech met a horrifying end, found with throats slit, their final words etched in blood. Shadows of resistance were snuffed out like candles, until all that remained was the unnatural lisp echoing through Spain. To this day, in the twisting alleys of old Spanish towns, people claim to hear it. Late at night, when the streets are silent and the air grows cold, you might catch a ghostly hiss, the faint chilling echo of a sound long forgotten but never gone. Some say it's the king himself, his spirit lingering, enforcing his cursed speech on the living. Others believe that the lisp is a spectre in the language, an ancient whisper that slips from the mouth of those who speak it, bound to a promise no one remembers making. So, when you hear the peculiar sound of the Castilian lisp, listen closely, for you might just hear a voice from beyond, a phantom king, still whispering, still lingering, haunting the language of his people with every breath.
In the haunting folklore of the colour culture, there lurks a terrifying creature known as the Boo Hag, said to be an evil spirit denied rest after death. The Boo Hag is no ordinary ghost. It is a twisted, skinless being, its flesh raw and red, moving like liquid shadow under the cover of night. Devoid of its own skin, the Boo Hag preys on the unsuspecting, slipping into homes unseen, driven by an insatiable thirst for life. Boo Hags are known for one particularly sinister trick. They borrow the skin of the living. When night falls, they seek out their victims, crawling into bedrooms as silent as death itself. The hag hovers over the sleeping, choosing its prey with an unholy patience. When it finds its victim, it peels away their skin, wearing it like a grotesque disguise. In this borrowed skin, the Boo Hag goes out to ride, blending among people by day, feeding off the energy of the living to sustain its unnatural existence. For those haunted by the Boo Hag, waking up is no relief. The hag's touch drains vitality, leaving victims weak, their skin pale, as if life itself has been siphoned away. Some survivors report waking with an inexplicable sense of dread, their bed sheets soaked with sweat and a lingering feeling that something had been there, watching, hungry. But the Boo Hag has weaknesses, and the colour people share warnings for protection. To keep a Boo Hag at bay, one should leave a broom by the door or scatter salt or rice. They say the hag is compelled to count every grain, becoming so obsessed with the task that it loses track of time and must flee before dawn. If caught in daylight, the Boo Hag is trapped, unable to return to its lair before the sun's purifying light burns it away. The most terrifying warning, though, is this. If you wake in the night, feeling short of breath, and sense a shadow hovering close, don't move. Don't open your eyes. The Boo Hag knows when it's been discovered, and if it feels threatened, it won't hesitate to silence its victim forever, pulling them into a world of endless darkness. To this day, the colour people whisper of Boo Hags, urging caution to all who dare listen. For the Boo Hag is always seeking, always waiting for its next ride, its hollow eyes ever watchful, its red, skinless body creeping through the shadows in search of fresh skin. So, as night falls, be wary, because once the Boo Hag finds you, escaping its grasp may be impossible.
sat a colander, connected by tangled wires to a clunky, whirring photocopier. With cold hands and steely eyes, they would press the colander onto the suspect's head, the metal pressing down cold and biting. The suspect, bewildered and terrified, would feel every nerve prickling with dread, trapped under that metallic cage as the interrogators began their relentless questioning. For every answer, their eyes would narrow, scrutinizing the slightest twitch, listening to the hum of the machine as if it were an oracle. And then the moment of terror, the photocopier would sputter, lights flashing as it spat out a single sheet of paper. In bold, damning letters it read, "He's lying. No escape. No mercy." The suspect's denials would crumble under the weight of that simple, ominous phrase. Each lie printed like a final verdict, sealing their fate in ink. For hours the interrogation would continue, each piece of paper a silent accusation. Those trapped by the colander lie detector soon broke, their confessions ripped from them by fear and paranoia, convinced the machine held powers beyond human comprehension. And while rational minds would dismiss this setup as a mere psychological trick, to those who lived through it, the memory of that cold colander and the whispering hum of the photocopier still haunts their darkest nightmares. They say that some suspects, after enduring this twisted ritual, could still hear the faint sound of that photocopier, a ghostly reminder of the machine that could see through lies and leave nothing but a trail of fear in its wake. Deep in the shadowy woods, near Harper's Crossroads, North Carolina, lies a cursed clearing known as the Devil's Tramping Ground. This forsaken patch of earth is like no other. A circle of barren ground where no tree, no grass, nor even the faintest weed will grow. Locals fear it, and with good reason. It is said that the devil himself walks here, leaving behind a desolate trail where nothing will grow. Night after night, the ground remains eerily still, but the legends tell a different story. Those brave or foolish enough to camp nearby often report strange, unexplainable events, whispered voices that chill the blood, footsteps in the darkness that echo too close for comfort, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Some claim that if you try to sleep in the circle, you'll awaken to find your belongings scattered, your camp destroyed, yet no one will be in sight. A far more terrifying tale is that those who wander too close after dark vanish without a trace. The trees seem to whisper of a dark pact, a forgotten ritual that keeps the devil's footsteps forever carved into the earth. The tramping ground isn't just a place. For 86 long years, the Boston Red Sox were plagued by a curse so dark it seemed to haunt every game, every season, and every hopeful fan. It was called the Curse of the Bambino, and it began with a single fateful act. In 1918, the Red Sox sold their star player, Babe Ruth, to the New York Yankees. The moment he left, a shadow descended over the team, one that would stretch across nearly a century of heartbreak and despair. From that day forward, the Red Sox were cursed. Every time they came close to victory, something insidious would strike. An error, a missed chance, a call gone wrong. The ballpark grew thick with a sense of dread, as if the very air was saturated with the weight of a vengeful spirit. Fans would watch in agony as their team faltered, and whispers of the Bambino's ghost, restless and furious, swirled through the stands. For 86 years, the curse thrived. It tore through the hopes of generations, mocking the team with every failed attempt to win the World Series. Some believed the curse was a punishment, others a malicious joke, but all felt its grip, cold and relentless. Then, in 2004, the impossible happened. The curse was broken, but not without the lingering memory of its chilling presence. Even today, when the Red Sox play, a whisper lingers in the air, a reminder of the cursed years.